couldn't handle it. I just wasn't equipped for it.
They are the best mistakes of my life.
Where I thought I would be was very different than reality.
My mind is going to feel a little bit out of control, and everything is going to be okay.
It hit me like a hurricane and it took me down.
I finally felt like, oh, okay, this is my time to deal with some shit.
There was no emotional energy that I had to think about other things.
Matt is working on himself, and the future of Keystone will depend on how that work goes.
I'm Matt Landau, and this is Unlocked, the intermission. When I originally set out to create this limited series, The Intermission, I originally wanted to chronicle the last year of my personal and professional growth journey. It's been easily the most exciting and terrifying and confusing and exhilarating and transformative year of my life. But as I began to interview these people really close to me in that journey, many of the voices that you heard at the beginning of this episode, it became very clear that their journeys were inspiring. The way that they navigated change and adversity, the sensations, you could hear in their voice, you could feel what it was like to navigate this complete, unpredictable, unforeseeable unknown. And those interviews ended up becoming the main show of this limited series. In fact, each of those people so close to me has their own dedicated interview. But I also wanted to take an opportunity to share some of my own reflections with my own experience of getting stuck. You see, about a year ago, I set out to create the Keystone Retreats with my business partner, Steve Schwab. And at the early stages, things were not going as planned. Steve and I had a number of run-ins. We had what felt like were philosophical differences about things. We had a number of arguments, and it was all compounded by the fact that we both felt that our reputations were on the line with these events. We're hosting industry leaders, want to make sure that they're getting value. We want to make sure that things don't go wrong. And it was a really stressful time in my personal growth trajectory. And the Keystone Retreats were really only a microcosm of everything that was happening in my life right around that time. All my projects and my relationships, they all seemed to be wobbling. They all seemed to be missing this solid ground. So this episode is going to feature Steve and some of those difficult moments and how they impacted our collective growth. But this episode's also going to feature some of my reflections from the last year, some of my discoveries from these wonderful interviews that you've heard. I'm really proud of this episode, and I'm really proud of this series. It's something that I really wanted to do, and I'm very appreciative to our sponsors for supporting that vision. This episode is brought to you by Breezeway, the property care and operations app, and B&B Finder, B&B without the fees. Here's Steve again.
Well, we were just going to know each other. And I'm glad we went through all the things we did. I remember somewhere around the second group, you and I were really struggling. And that has translated into a whole bunch of good things within my own life of how I deal with things and maybe how I see the world differently now. You were great. You were also in a very uncomfortable place. And I think when people get uncomfortable, you feel a little claustrophobic. And there's a lot of emotions involved. And looking back on it, I have much more clarity on it than I did at the time. But it was also very hard for us because like we just had a lot of people don't know the person we hired to help us coordinate it suddenly quit, and just weeks before the event.
Yeah, that did not help my feelings of concern.
No, it was terrifying. That's when I started getting worried. That's when I started panicking. Um, that was tough, and thank God for Kelsey. Kelsey's a blessing. Uh, I think that you were exactly where you needed to be at that moment, and I don't think I'd change anything because I think that that was important for our friendship, for Keystone, for me personally.
We had a guest at one of our Keystone retreats, which has also, by the way, really fostered, I think, a deeper level of connection and uh, purpose about my work, about our industry. For those not aware, we invite vacation rental leaders to beautiful farms that we rent out, and we cater everything, and we host several day retreats. We call them the Keystone Retreats. We've hosted 10 of them, and 200 vacation rental leaders I've gotten to hear in between the lines, hear them speaking about these meaningful life changes. And a lot of them had no idea upon arriving that that's what we were going to be talking about. A lot of them would just come with thinking they needed to solve a tech problem, or thinking that their next big breakthrough was in hiring someone. What I learned from all 200 of those Keystone attendees is that there's always a layer deeper. And a wonderful example is this woman, Deb, who came in thinking that her breakthrough was hiring a new GM. But it turned out, as a result of her work with her cohort, that she actually needed more time to herself. And she actually needed to begin walking again, because she actually was ready to check off this bucket list item of walking El Camino de Santiago Compostela. And she bought the ticket and she went, and she sent all the photos, and she said it was exactly as life changing as she was hoping. And that's just an example for me of, you don't come to those conclusions by yourself. Maybe you've got a partner who's helping keep you motivated, keep you growing. Maybe you have a team, or maybe you have hired a coach like I hired Jordan. But on average, we don't make these discoveries just sitting in our little comfort zone, which is when should be a cue to step outside and explore something new. And that's the objective of our Keystone retreats. That's, I think, the objective of travel as an industry. And I think that's really a key to life in a lot of ways.
The common words of life changing, or it's only been 3 days, but I felt like I've known these people for years. It happens at every one of these retreats. And I don't fully grasp what's happening, but I do know that the environment is creating these social bonds between people and connections. And if you watch the communities, and I know you do because I see you on them, we have these little community chat groups where they're talking afterwards, and these people are staying connected. They're finding each other at shows. They're visiting each other. They're supporting one another. It is funny that what is old in community and small town community feel and helping one another is new again, and that human connection where they're actually helping each other out without any desire for themselves, without any benefit to them, is happening. And it's kind of interesting, Matt. I noticed, and I see you traveling around, and I noticed that you visit a lot of the Keystoners, as we call them. And I'm going to ask you, why do you go visit the Keystoners when there's no financial benefit, there's no schedule? What's in it for you?
I think all the work that I do is, whether it was intentional or just subconscious, all sort of ways of serving me what I actually need deep down, which I really need to be with people. I love people. I need to travel. I need to step outside my comfort zone in that sense. I need and I love experiences that are new, that help me see things differently. Learning, I need to learn in these very sort of mobile ways as opposed to other people learn, everyone learns their own way. And I trace back everything that I've done in the vacation rental sector. And it's always prioritizing those core needs over anything financial.
When I see pictures of you with them, or see you on video with them, or sometimes you call me and you guys are all hanging out and waving at me, I feel like that's you loving on them, because these people are so happy to be that you're there, and you're so happy to be there with them. And you could go and spend time with whoever, but I see this often, and I think these deep connections you have with these people we've gotten to know is you're loving on them and opening up to them. I think it's kind of beautiful.
I think I had always been waiting for somebody to come in and help me with some of these personal things that I needed to work on. And, it would manifest in business relationships in which I would just kind of like partner with someone really bright and just kind of sit back and let them drive. That sort of passive waiting game, I think I always just kind of waited for someone to come in and do the thing for me. And I think that was also very limiting to some of my businesses. That was a bit of a humbling realization that nobody is going to help you. And interestingly, when you start helping yourself, people do start helping you in ways that I don't think I would have previously been able to identify. So like some people help me by showing me what I don't like. Like some people help me by showing me the exact opposite direction that I want to go. That's very helpful. Some people helped me with their own discoveries, their own journey. I would say Guy, who we featured in this series. Everything Guy says is almost like a little guiding spiritual light, to follow in that direction. And gosh, I just spoke with Guy a couple of days ago. He's obviously in the middle of the mayhem in Israel still. And such a difficult new territory for him. But if there's anything that I think about, it's that he knows how to handle shit. And he's doing that in an entirely new way with his family, with his neighborhood, with his country. So, gosh, I just really hope to see him this coming month in Spain. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that the people you interact with end up helping you in different ways that will always be different for everybody. And Jordan, for me, was a wonderful coach. But also, the more work you're doing for yourself, the clearer the things are that you want to learn, the clearer the people are that you want to be around, the clearer the skills are that you want to learn. And I think it all is rooted in this inward clarity. I used to compartmentalize business and personal. This is a business sphere item. This is personal. And I think to my great detriment, the stuff in my personal life, I pretty much was good at ignoring I thought about everything from a business lens, and the business has gone great. But really personal work, I think I had successfully avoided for a long time. And it was only coming to this sort of stuck moment in realizing that everything is wobbling, not just business projects, but relationships, and seems like the entire world is wobbling. It was only in finally coming to that realization that I was the common denominator in all those things that I realized, oh, wait a minute. Not only am I the common denominators in all the bad stuff, I can be the common denominator in all the awesome stuff. And that, I think, was a shift. And that common denominator, me, means that work that I did for myself, getting clearer on my vision, immediately seeps into the business world. I start having conversations with people and I'm wowing them with a vision in a way that I have never done before. Direct ROI, direct business correlation there. In actual creative work, knowing myself better and understanding more clearly how I feel at any given moment, or what I like about something artistically, or what I don't like about something, some feeling. That immediately makes me more creative, which again, direct outcome in my business, right? Because we're in the business of hosting these beautiful events and online community connection and advertising and media, storytelling. Creativity is like the most valuable skill in that sense. So I've taken down all of those silos between personal and work. I've realized that the more clear you are on yourself, the more clear your business world becomes. And when they're aligned, then you're unstoppable. This episode's brought to you by Breezeway. Running a vacation rental business is challenging. And whether you're a manager with hundreds of properties or a host with one, it's only a matter of time before the next ultra urgent owner or guest request comes through. If you want to get ahead of these issues and start feeling proactive about your business, consider Breezeway. Breezeway's property operations software basically coordinates the pillars of the business, like cleaning and maintenance and inspections and communication with your employees to verify that work has been completed, but also communication with guests, guest messaging, and their customizable digital welcome book, so guests have everything they need to know. These are huge in a business that's operationally complex. Also, Breezeway Assist is this team of trained professionals who can provide after-hours communication with guests. It's huge. Breezeway's platform will give you this peace of mind that nothing is falling through the cracks. And I cannot emphasize how valuable that is to one's sanity. In fact, one Breezeway client said that Breezeway helped save their marriage with the amount of time that it saved. So what are you waiting for, listener? Go to breezeway.io/VRMB to sign up for a demo, and be sure to visit their booth this conference season. Mention that you heard about them on this podcast, the Unlocked Intermission Series, and you get the free implementation, $1,000 value, as a gracias. That's breezeway.io/VRMB. And B&B Finder, which is the property listing marketplace built for professional property managers. B&B Finder is free for professional property managers to list on. You can then upgrade your listing to improve visibility. They believe travelers should book directly with property managers, so you own that relationship with the customer. They're held to your terms and your cancellation policy. You also make more money because B&B Finder does not charge the traveler a service fee, nor do they charge property managers a transaction fee. Their goal is to empower professional property managers and to make travel more enjoyable and less expensive for everybody. B&B Finder only works with professional property managers, so they don't work with for rent by owner situations. Now, they're offering a special for listeners of this podcast. They're offering a free upgrade for a period of 6 months if you simply mention the phrase B&B without the fees to any B&B Finder representative or booth at conference season this year. You'll get 6 months of a free upgraded offer. You can also head over to their website, bnbfinder.com/list. And as a reward, your listing will be upgraded from free to bronze or bronze to silver or silver to gold. That upgrade will be live for 6 months. So this is a pretty wonderful opportunity to try out a company whose values are in line with yours. That's bnbfinder.com/list. I always struggled with the word visionary. I always thought of visionaries as people like Steve Jobs, who were very different from me. I definitely did not feel like I had any strands of visionary in me. And I know plenty of vacation rental managers, Steve, who's featured in this series, who I considered visionary, but definitely not in a way that I could associate with, at least of kind of visionary that I saw in myself. And it was only through this last year and really getting clearer on my preferences and what I think is cool and what I think is fun and what I don't think is fun and what I don't think is cool. Getting clear on those things suddenly started giving me insight into my business projects, because suddenly a whole revenue stream might appear with a new line of thinking that I could not have seen before. That's the thing. I could not have seen it. Literally, it was invisible, this whole world. And that is a huge discovery for me, realizing that this unforeseen fringe of potential magic, you just can't see it. So you don't know what it is that you're searching for. You don't know why you should pay anybody to help you get it. It's like, what the hell? It seems like a scam. But I can now speak from personal experience, personal conviction, that getting clearer on oneself makes one a visionary, makes one more visionary in every business sense. You could be doing anything in our industry or another industry, but if you have that clarity, I think that is an immensely valuable skill. It's something I think every one of us has room to improve on. Here's Steve again.
Loving on people is being very intentional about who you will choose to have the very best of you. And who deserves that? Because you can't love on everybody, and not everybody deserves your time, attention, or love. So when you find valuable people and you want the very best for them, only because you want something good for them, not because you want something back, that's foundational love. That's when you're loving on somebody. And it's really important it's as important to yourself as it is for them. So if you can't find people who are valuable enough in your life to love on, then you need to start exploring what's going on. And for me, accepting that there's going to be people there's going to be imperfect people who you don't always have warm fuzzies about, but you've chosen to love them, love on them, care for them, despite whether it is there's any return, is part of the growth of being a human finding that arc in your life, and it takes time. Choosing the right people is the most important part of that, because you can choose the wrong people, and you'll find takers. So they have to be valuable. Um, Getting over the fear of it was the hardest thing for me, and being able to accept people's love back and not be afraid of it was probably the biggest hurdle in my emotional life that I had to get over at some point. Feeling worthy yourself and accepting the love, and maybe not even worrying if you're worthy in your past, but living up to being worthy as you go forward, and understanding that you're an imperfect human being, but you still have a lot of value, and making sure that your actions live those values is a big part of that journey. At least it was for me.
The interviews in this series opened my eyes to the unlimited nature of happiness and joy and love. And I think, I was always preaching the limited edition gospel. For those who don't know it, limited edition is like my favorite two words in the dictionary. It's probably not even in the dictionary. Limited edition, the idea that we need to be one of a kind, we need to be 100% irreplicable in order to build value in any given marketplace, thus collector's items and antique items, etc. That I used to preach that limited edition as the business strategy of the future for small businesses. But I think that definition of limited edition, are you ready for this one? I think limited edition was me. Unlimited edition encapsulates my discovery over the last year, really over the last 41 years at this point. But it's an evolution of a concept that I knew deep down was true, but that I, in hindsight, realized was limiting. And it was settling on this word, unlimited edition, and hearing each of these interviews in this series of people talking about stepping into completely unknown territories. Valerie lost her mom at an early age and was suicidal. Adam lost his father at an early age and has spent his whole life processing it. Guy was in war, is in war, and had 2 children that changed his life. Robin, who we met in the middle of a complete life change in which her marriage dissolved and reality would never be the same way it was again. My mother, this is the first time I've ever interviewed my mother. She's a world-renowned scientist, but I've never interviewed her. My mom's growth process through the chaos and unblazed trails of being a woman in science. So it was hearing all of these people who I knew so well, hearing their personal interpretations of this process and lessons that they had learned in the process. Then I was like, aha, there's something at the core of all of this. There's ways of handling the unknown that make us better. And whether we're stuck in a way that I was, starting to feel like we're losing passion or wobbling, no fire like we used to, or stuck like really painful stuck, which we've dealt with in all these episodes, going through completely new life shit and developing the skills to deal with it. That has given me a clear vision. And I think if we can share those kind of stories, they sit at the core of our business, hospitality. And it's everything. It's all one. But I think if we can tell these stories, I think this is the area that the industry has been neglecting, and kind of embarrassingly so. We're a people industry, yet we never actually talk about people stuff. This is, I think, the big breakthrough. And here's my mom with some advice on how to close out a meaningful talk.
A talk should be like a circle, where whatever you do, where you start, as you unfold your story and go around the circle, at the end you must come back to what your initial framing questions were. And I still share that with all of my students. You can't just tell a story and end someplace else. that doesn't make sense. You need to have it be a circle to have it be a beautiful talk.
Which I think is a nice place to end this episode and this series of interviews. Back where we first started. At the beginning, I planned to tell the story of my transformation, my inward growth over the last year of my life, through the people who meant so much to me in the process. But as we'd learn, the interviews with those people featured stories so remarkable and diverse and fascinating that we couldn't help but structure the entire season around them. They are the centerpieces. They are the pillars that ended up framing the growth that I have gone through myself, which I hope is the lesson that I can leave with listeners, that everybody's entering into unknown territory, that growth these days, with the speed of change, looks and feels very different from the growth that may have gotten you here. But in case you do get stuck, know that other people are going through that kind of growth too. And this courage to step into the unknown, using creativity to explore new options, new solutions, and being curious, asking better questions, and being honest with oneself. These are values of the future. These are the values that create visionaries, which I believe describes you too. It's been a treat to share these interviews with you. So long. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, a new way of thinking about our growth, and are attending any vacation rental conferences coming up this season, I know our sponsors would love to meet you. So much that they've arranged a special offer for anybody who stops by their booths. Yes, if you stop by the Breezeway booth or the B&B Finder booth, or if you speak with any of those representatives this coming conference season, let them know you heard this podcast, and the special offer is yours.